Welcome, Wilt. How about that phrase? An extraordinary man in an ordinary world. Can you reflect on that for a few moments?
Well, I believe that the world is extraordinary, you know, and I'm really pretty ordinary. But it's how people view you, you know. One of the things that always bothered me was people always wondered, well, where do you sleep? How big is the bed that you sleep in? You know, it never bothered me. It was pretty easy just to curl up and go to sleep. But people view you in a certain way, and because you're a foot taller or so than the average guy, to them that foot sometimes is 5 or 6. An old lady once asked me how tall I was, and I said 6'11". I was in high school at the time, and she said I just lied to her that she couldn't believe. She said, "You got to be 9 feet tall." Well, people see you as being something much more than what I see myself as being.
Mm-hmm. You are a loner. You don't do this much. Why?
Well, because I'm really very content with myself. I'm happy about what I'm about. I don't need people to lean on. I enjoy people. I love them. I love to interact. But basically, I like to reflect, and I have to do that by myself. I'm very happy being alone.
Mm-hmm. People have talked about you being a bit of a mystery man. Sometimes you will go 3 or 4 days without eating. Sometimes, and it's fact, you have gotten into a car and just driven as far as you can drive. In fact, you drove on a whim across country. What do you think about the mystery behind Wilt Chamberlain?
Well, it's pretty ordinary to me, once again. You know, you're right. You say a whim. I love to drive. See, but I love to be alone. I've always driven by myself. I've gone across country 20 times, maybe. Always alone.
What do you think about when you drive?
Oh, a number of things. Who I am, what I'd like to be, going fast, looting things that you shouldn't be doing, things you shouldn't be doing, maybe a little faster than you should be going, flirting a little bit with, not with death, but, you know, just those things that seem to be what we like to do, but a little bit afraid of. I mean, I water ski at over 100 miles an hour. When I ride in my cars, I'm going as much as 180 and 170 miles an hour. And most people dream of doing those things, but never have enough nerve maybe to try them.
You couldn't win being Wilt, because if you succeeded, it was, hey, of course he's going to succeed. He's 7 feet 1 1/16. But if you lose, man, oh man, look out, because Wilt was expected to win all the time, right?
Right. In fact, Dr. Forrest C. Allen, who was the coach at the University of Kansas, when I signed to go to the University of Kansas, he said, we'll win 3 national championships with this guy. All we need is 2 Phi Beta Kappas and two girls and him, and we can beat anybody.
Right.
And that sort of set the stage, you know, for you just had to win it all or you did nothing at all.
Did it hurt to not win?
You know, of course. You know, I was raised in a very competitive world of sports, and losing is something that you don't like to accept. Every time you lost at anything, whether you lost missing a foul shot, lost the whole game, it bothered me a great deal. In fact, it probably bothered me more than I even realized.
Were you as great as you were because of the time, or would you be as great now? I mean, there's, you know, 15 7-footers now. There were 3 in your era, or 2 in your era.
I disagree with you there. I think it was a lot of big guys when I played. Guys who weighed more than I did, a few guys taller than I was, a lot of 7-footers. But today the guys are much more athletic. But I think sometimes when you have all that going for you in the body, how is your head? I watch Kareem out there now. I think the center position has suffered. I think they have lousy centers right now. There are 2 or 3 who are any good. The rest of them couldn't make Overbrook High School.
Mm-hmm. And you still talk about Kareem as the guy that just doesn't do it for the rebounds. I don't know how much of that is needle. I don't know.
Well, some of it's needle, but he can still go out there and do it scoring-wise on these guys who, you know, should be killing him up and down the court or what have you. That's because I believe they have athletic ability, but they don't use this right up here, which a great many athletes don't do. But I think that basketball players today are much better as athletes, but some of them, their thinking process as far as the game is concerned.
I want to go back to Kareem for a second.
Mm-hmm.
He has known you since he's 14 years old. People don't realize that you guys grew up. You took him under your wing. You befriended him. You showed him the ropes. You literally gave him the shirt off your back. You used to give him your own clothes. Mm-hmm. Took him to the Latin Quarter in New York once upon a time. Why aren't you guys closer?
Well, I would say that, you know, athletes are really tough people they have a lot of pride, you understand? They're very, very competitive, and him and I are natural rivals. Even though we grew up together in one way, we still are rivals. People pit us against each other. Why, I don't know. He plays a different game than I ever played. But I think it also works on him. I would love to be more friendly with Kareem, but maybe he's in a different world than I am right now. I know this right here. I think if I came to Kareem and said, hey, how about lending me $10,000, it wouldn't be a problem.
The other guy that you're most associated with, and always have been, and something you almost don't even want to talk about anymore, but I'm going to bring it up anyway, is Bill Russell. And people also theorize that the reason there's been a kind of thin feud between the two of you, if at all, is because that you got a bad rap through Russell, that Russell was always considered the more sensitive ball player, the more intelligent ball player, the more team-oriented ball player, and ultimately, of course, the more successful ball player. You guys were once upon a time very, very close, but all of that stuff, all that baggage added up, and it split you guys apart.
Mm-hmm. I would think that there is a little bit of a myth involved. We were very, very close at one time, and Russell had some statements to make after he got out of basketball that I think were somewhat unkind to me.
Like?
Like that when I came out of the game, which was the seventh game against Boston in L.A. with a knee problem. I tore apart my Achilles tendon, and he said at some type of a speech that he would have never left the game unless sort of a broken back, something like that, you know. But then he apologized a few years later on, but never to me, but through the press or what have you. But you must understand, once again, you're talking about a guy who's filled with a lot of pride. I've been fortunate, Roy. Off the court, I've probably done better than I did on the court. Some of these guys have not been so successful off of the court. And it's hard for them sometimes to face their contemporaries and look at them the same way they would like to, because they don't feel as comfortable about where they are now in life compared to what they were doing when they were playing basketball. Russell won 11 world championships. It was on a team that won a great many games and was given all the accolades that possible can give. But today, I'm not so sure that he is a very happy man.
Wilt Chamberlain, we know the outer Wilt Chamberlain. In a few moments, we'll talk about the inner Wilt Chamberlain after this. His autobiography, Wilt Chamberlain, said that he's just like any average 7-foot, 1-inch black millionaire bachelor. We talked a little bit about Wilt at home because we never get a chance to see Wilt in other areas. People don't know this about you. First of all, as a kid, and I'll say this to embarrass you because I wouldn't want to do that, but that you sucked your thumb till you were in high school.
That's right, almost in high school. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And that you have really never had a serious relationship before. You are a loner, as we said before. There's been little romance and no desire to marry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
True?
Well, true. I mean, I never believed in closing the door or anything at all. I never say never. I'm from a very successful family of marriage, as far as concerned. My mother and father were married for almost 50 years. And I have a great respect for the institution. But I think in today's world, there's almost no place for it.
You know, when they look at you, Wilt, when everybody looks at you, they see a man who is indestructible. Ever been hurt by a woman?
Not really, no. No. Not that I can think of. I've been hurt by the multitudes, or the ones that say no for whatever reasons.
But, I mean, is that because maybe you don't let people in as close as you might or could, and that because of that you know, disassociate yourself a little bit?
Well,
you distance yourself a little bit?
I would say maybe there might be a fear of getting too close and then getting hurt. And, yeah, that's natural, I think. I think we all have that, you know. But basically, I feel as though that I have to find someone who is comparable. And that's almost impossible for me to do.
What scares you?
Probably not old age, but not being able to do the things that I now am capable of doing. Not being able to function as an athlete, not being able to take care of yourself. I think that you can get old gracefully and enjoy it, but being able to do the things that I love to do.
It's interesting you say that, growing old gracefully, because Wilt Chamberlain is not afforded that right particularly. You always have to look like you could play. You've even said that before. You're not allowed to become flabby. Does that bother you? Does it frustrate you a little bit?
I think that normally it would, but in this case it helps to give me inspiration, incite me to do the things that are necessary to keep your body in shape and be as healthy as you possibly can. But you're right, sometimes it's tough. It's tough because you realize that people are always looking at you and they always want to know, well, can he or can he not go out there and play or what have you.
When is the last time you cried?
Cried? The last time I cried was a friend of mine who had a serious illness, which was a matter of just a couple of weeks ago.
See, the point I'm making is that nobody thinks Wilt Chamberlain cries. Nobody thinks Wilt Chamberlain hurts. And there's got to be, because of that, a lot of pent-up stuff somewhere, unless you do it a lot behind closed doors.
No, it's, you know, I believe what you're saying is true. Bigness, I mean, just big in the exterior, physical bigness, right, kind of brings it on you. People just look at you as being impenetrable, whatever. They think if you're small, anything can hurt you. If you're big, nothing will hurt you. And that's the phrase from the truth.
There's a responsibility of bigness. You got to have the biggest house. You got to have the biggest appetite. You got to have the best women, the biggest car. That stuff adds up.
Yeah, well, in some cases, I've put that on myself. In some cases, I've wanted to have the fastest car, the nicest this, the nicest that. But a lot of that still is natural, you know. But I think that you have to realize that you can't have all these things.
Wilt Chamberlain, we're going to talk about the people and places down through the years in his wonderful career. We'll do it after this. Acclaim is a lot more important than what anybody would say about him. Wilt Chamberlain is our guest. I want to ask you about a running commentary, more or less on different subjects. First of all, were there drugs in your era? Did you ever experiment with drugs?
No, I never did, but there were drugs. There were drugs, but much more booze.
Red Auerbach, or the man that you never even mentioned by name, you just refer to him as the man I don't like. Your comments on him?
Yeah, well, probably the best coach to ever coach professional basketball. Very big egotist, and used me as a ploy to help to make Russell great.
Racial bitterness. You have very little, if any.
I have none, because I understand, I think, a lot of what racial, all that malarkey is all about. I've been lucky enough to see people come into love, and that's what it's all about.
Now, you are in the minority in a certain level. I mean, you are an ultra-conservative. You were supported Nixon. You have come under attack for that. Certainly, you take none of that back. I mean, that's the way
I would definitely do it again. Definitely do it again.
Why?
Still, because I believe very, very strongly at the time that Nixon was the best for our country, and foreign affairs he was the best at it, and we need to get all that together. I believe strongly today that you know, being conservative is the way to go. I'm not really a Reagan fan, but I'm still a Republican, I think.
What would you say? Here's what I'm trying to get at. What would you say if someone said, "Tell me something about Wilt that we wouldn't know"? Give me one you know, paragraph about yourself.
I think that I believe in love, and I believe that we all have to reach out a whole lot more to everybody, whether it's color, race, sex, this country or whatever, and just touch and see. I was fortunate enough to travel the world a number of times with the Globetrotters, whatever, and see that we all are really alike, and we all need the one basic thing, is love, and with that understanding.
With love, there is, at times, sex. And people, absolutely, you're about to say.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Sex important in your life?
Oh, always has been. I think that it's a natural function. I think that it's helped to keep me alive and well, and still have many dreams in that fashion. Yeah, sex is very important.
There is a lot of myth and legend associated with Wilt Chamberlain, as you might imagine, and sex. How much of that is true? Are you
100% of it.
Super stud? I mean, what is that? Come on. I mean,
no, super stud is in one's imagination. I just want to be satisfying. The right ass, but satisfying. I want to be able to satisfy.
The perfect woman is, for you?
One who is intelligent, one who laughs a lot at herself and other people, one who enjoys a great deal of sex and can really cook.
Real. How about 72 Lakers?
The team that I think did the most with the least amount of talent.
Greatest team you ever played on?
Philadelphia 76ers of 1967, 1968.
Greatest player you ever faced? Would it automatically be Bill Russell, or maybe a surprise us here?
No, not at all. I think Bill Russell did a great deal for his team. There was a lot of great players I played. Willis Reed, Nate Thurman, Oscar Robertson, Jerry West. I faced these guys, Elgin Baylor, and I played against them. I played against teams, not individuals, and Russell was just one of the great players that I had a chance to play against.
You got 30 seconds left. We always run to the end of this thing, and we ask you to tie it all up. what would you like most to be associated with, remembered for the career, and for the myth and legend of Wilt Chamberlain?
Well, a big guy that had a lot of compassion. And what I'm doing now in life by trying to help a lot of, amateur kids involved in sports, I want to be remembered for trying to give something back from getting so much out of sports to just giving something back.
He is something out of the ordinary, of course, but I guess just your average 7 foot 1 inch black millionaire bachelor. Wilt Chamberlain,